conference out in nature with 15 men. It's potent, powerful, and I wasn't here last week, and that's why we didn't stream last week. And we're back. And for those joining, wondering what this is about, this is Get Resource. We chat about anything around reconnecting to our self, source, and others. Relationships, communication, ways of being more human. And we always love to open up with the question of what's alive in you today, Summer?
Excitement, expectation, a little bit of internal pressure. I'm republishing my book with 10 beautiful students of ours, and it's a lot of work, a lot of download. Just mute myself. There's a big truck going by here. So it's an exciting time, but like any birth, it's messy at times. It's discombobulating at times. And so sometimes, I'm skipping meals, and it's not my usual way of operating. That's what's alive in me. How about you, Mr. Dre? What's alive
in me today is, just checking. I think my connection's a bit choppy. You can still hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, a lot more spaciousness within myself. Feeling of gratitude, appreciation for my learnings, my integration from all these experiences all coming together, meeting my need for clarity. And so there's a 4 type of energy of like, when I lack clarity, there was a lack of will and a lack of motivation. And it's back. It's coming together now because I see more clearly now. Yeah. With that, I'm in. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, yes, I was going to say you're in. What are we in for today? I think on top of mind for both of us is we watched the movie The Odyssey. Ooh. And that was how did you find the movie? From a 0 to 10 for yourself. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a bit glitchy right now, isn't it? And that's causing some distraction for me. So give me a moment. I'm going to switch my internet connection here and see what happens in the live thing. I'm not sure because it's really not sure if I can make do with this. Maybe. Because what I'm afraid of is if I switch the internet connection, it's going to stop the chat and it's going to stop the live video. So maybe we'll make do for now. Yeah, out of 10, I give it a 9. Because it invoked a lot of emotion in me.
Oh.
It showed me a rites of passage, a man's trial to come home. And what I found was to come home back to himself, to his inner anima, his inner feminine, to make love, to fall in love with himself. And in that movie, it was in the form of his wife coming back to Penelope. But how I reflect that within myself was this man that's going through myself, trials, tribulations, challenges along the way, and then finally trusting source, trusting God, trusting the universe to guide me. And that leads me back to my beloved within me, my inner anima, versus me projecting it onto you or onto an object outside of myself. Being in touch with this loyal, feminine, goddess, life-giving energy that's been waiting for me to come home to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that within myself. It was a sense of reorienting, shifting pieces within myself to come back into a place of like wholeness and expansiveness and life. Like what came out of it was like, I feel alive. Yeah.
The movie did that for you as
totally.
part of it.
Yeah, it was like as if I saw my own journey in Odysseus coming home,
Mhm.
making those choices, and letting go of ego, um, letting go of this resistance towards God, a universal source, his plans for me, and just surrendering to what is, right? And along the way in those lessons with the Cyclops, with the sirens, with Calypso, like they were all like messages,
Mm.
right? That showed up for him as trials, and they all were different themes, right? So um, the big piece I take away from it was coming home to my inner anima, and this piece of when I do that, I start to trust myself more, believe in myself more, have more respect for myself, more sense of worthiness as that given within me. That's something that's outside of me and outside of my control. Yeah, yeah, right. It's a lot. So, how are you? Or before I check in with you, if there's anything that I shared that landed, I hear your reflection.
Oh, well, I can reflect back to you that it excites me. I, um, as a reflection and also just as my own, it's like, oh yeah, I definitely want men to come home to themselves, to let go of the ego parts and the destructive nature of how the ego can be. And you talked about, calypso sirens and all the messages. And hello, Elizabetta. Nice to see you in here. To me, the profoundness of that movie, of the metaphors and the archetypes and how they put it together, like, you have to understand me, I fall asleep at movies, like, I can barely stay awake. I just find them remarkably boring and repetitive in their nature of Hollywood
And this movie
prep.
was at 11 p.m.
I and we go to bed at 10:30, 11. So it started at 11 in the IMAX theater. And the Odyssey is an odyssey. It is 3 hours long. It is so long, and it felt like 45 minutes to me. It was a thought-provocative, action-filled, emotional, um, story of truth, reconciliation, inner conflict, um, layered with metaphors of not only Greek mythology, but also layered with the 7 deadly sins and the gods, Zeus, but also just God itself, the universe, and the trust in the nature of, like Andre says, coming home. Um, and one of the most provocative scenes for me was when his entire army died on the ocean
Yeah,
and then the ship.
spoiler alerts. Spoiler
Oh,
alert.
yes. Oh, yes, maybe. Maybe I shouldn't tell that part of the story. Maybe I won't, 'cause, that will ruin it for everybody, but that one how we got home, to me, is the preface of my work, our work at the Relational Wisdom School. That story, The Odyssey, is, um, what each person, I believe, is going through, and how he comes home to his wife and all the suitors that were in there that sat upon the queen of the feminine was anyway, I feel like I'm rambling. It was one of the most powerful movies I've ever watched, and I don't like movies, so that's saying something because I stayed awake and alert the entire time, just riveted.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it was
and the movie Elizabeth is called The Odyssey. Title of
the
the movie is
odd.
called The Odyssey.
Mhm. Just released. I don't know if they would. How many do you guys get a lot of movies? I don't know how that works all over the world and how when they're released at what time. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you still see me, hear me? It looks like your
I
screen is
can
kind of
hear you.
frozen.
My
Okay.
screen is frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, like coming to it is like looking at my own work and what I'm moving towards is this connection to my body, to my heart, to my intuition, the integration of my right brain and my left brain together, like working with it all. And just giving my mind more data, more ease to trust myself instead of needing to analyze or get proof or judge, right? Myself. Um, Using the mind for what it's great at doing, right? Which is like organization, details, information gathering, but not letting it, lead the ship, not letting it become the master. And as a result, what starts to happen for me is this sense of peace, ease, freedom, 100% freedom from the pinging back and forth between my mind because I'm indecisive, right? I'm overthinking things, and more of this trust and looking at the bigger picture, right? This idea of squinting down and just having this tunnel vision to like relaxing the eyes and opening up the field of vision and seeing a lot more. Um, Automatically gives me a sense of more freedom, more peace, more ease in my life. Um, there's less of like this piece of going to war with myself, right? Trusting that what I have been given, this body, right? My heart, which has an electromagnetic field that's 5,000 times greater than the brain, right? Like trust, trust that there's more than what I can see, hear, read, or analyze, that there's other places of knowing. And when I begin that journey, just Odysseus surrendering at the end, I come back home to myself. This sense of like trust that, I'm tuning in, a sense of attunement and presence with myself, with the world, and with the people around me. That really what happens is this knowing that I'm not alone, that I'm connected to everything around me, that the mind is what creates the separation and aloneness and this place of lack and scarcity and fear. But when I trust in my body, when I feel safe here and I'm okay, I can start taking risks. I can start, this self talk becomes less critical, becomes more of a self coaching, right? I start making peace with myself. I start falling in love with myself all over again. And then life just begins to become expansive. It's as if like the movie goes from black and white to like technicolor. You're on mute, Summer. Just gotta remember.
See, I gotta yes, I was just saying Elizabeth has got a comment there I'd love to put up and read. Oh, she loves Stardust with Robert De Niro, so it has so many profound have you watched that movie? Combines the real world. Oh, what do stars do? Only the end answer was to shine. What do stars do? They shine, right? Oh, that ties back to people, right? What is our innate purpose here? Are we all meant to be workers and just bees that follow each other? Is there a special divine purpose while we're all here? Each human imprint is, I believe, different. And we're meant to shine in different ways. And as Dre was saying, as we combine our faculties, our right, our left brain, it's more than that. And I think we might get into quantum physics today because it's one of my favorite topics. Um, we are light beings. We're like the stars. And in quantum physics, they talk about the wave particle duality. And there's nothing more dual than our two sides of our brain and our two eyes that take in light in different ways, and they crisscross in front of the pineal gland. And the reason why I bring that up is because the third entity in two different things between masculine and feminine is the relationship between them. and the relationship to ourselves and our inner marriage and what that looks like. And having worked with so many people, because I used to work in natural vision improvement, most people have their left eye um, as subservient to their right eye, which is linked to their left brain. And it's dominant. And in the optometric industry, they don't they seek clarity with both eyes, but they don't often notice that one of the eyes is actually suppressed, and it's typically the left eye. Going on a bit of a tangent today, but so many people don't notice that the way that the world out, this story of the Odyssey, of the distorted masculine and the fight, force, or fix and the overanalyzation of things plays out in our mental, emotional brain capacities and is obviously seen through our eyes, through which eye is dominant. And often people who have strabismus or amblyopia in our culture, it's usually one eye. And it's the right eye, which is linked to the left brain, that is consistently dominant. It shows up in the way that we function in our world. And a lot of people say, like you say, we're supposed to shine our light. Our light is dimmed because we're only using one half of ourselves. There's a second part of the relationship that isn't being brought to it. And the pineal gland, as those two light receptors come in and meet at the pineal gland, which is actually called the third eye, there's a reason for that. It brings about wholeness, like you said, Andre, coming home, and there's an actual physiological aspect of how we see the world that actually plays out in our whole system. And the ancient Egyptians knew this. They knew the secrets to that. They knew what that meant, to be able to see with the light of God in them. And to me, what the Odyssey is about is that in a whole powerful way. So that's my tangent about light and quantum physics and how that plays out in our eyeballs.
Yeah. Even like metaphorically, like just imagining, like looking at like nature, for example, right? And I'm so focused on like the details of it that I zoom so much in that all I see is like blackness, like a hole of dirt. Because I'm
Mm,
just so zoomed into the grass, right? All I see is dirt. And how depressing can that be as well for me? That is this all there is? Devoid of everything else. It
mm,
feels so dark and gloomy, and it's easy for me to get to a point of what's the point of life? There is no point. It's nihilistic. If I start zoning the abstraction, going so deep into it without seeing the bigger picture, because the bigger picture is what provides meaning.
mhm,
It provides the context of why I'm going into the detail. But to be disconnected from the context, there is no meaning. So then I'm like, what's the point? So if I zoom out, I can start seeing the field, the sunshine, the blue sky, the trees, the animals. I'm like, whoa, there's beauty all around me,
mm,
right? Emanating its own intelligence in its own way. To be part of the story of Earth, of nature, of the seasons, to be connected to it because everything's interconnected. And then at times I zone in because my mind wants to make sense of things, right? Just like collapsing that wave function, right? In a matter to create, to express, to invent. Great. But to live there all the time, right? Because of the age of materialism and the scientific method and things need to be proven, we've taken it too far. We've taken it too far where we believe man is the one given dominion of the earth instead of being the stewards of the earth.
mhm,
There's a difference of the language and the energy behind each. From this place of conquering nature, mastering her, right? Having her under our control, just like nature is the feminine, we're doing that to ourselves. And we're doing that to the external feminine as well, right? rather
Yep.
to be in right relationship working with nature, working with the symbiosis that is always life giving versus take control, pillage, dominate, patent, sell, control, which doesn't give anything back. All it does is take, take, take. It does not feed the well. That's why we see the disparities of poverty, right? That the few get a lot, the masses get little, because it's a system that just takes and consumes out of lack and fear. This belief that things need to be forced and controlled to get things done, rather than be in right relationship with an intelligence that's already here.
Yeah. Well, I think we're not in relationship. Our culture does not teach us how to be in relationship at all. We look upon everything as objective, like you said. Everything's reductionistic. Oh, look at that thing over there, the blade of grass, the dirt. We don't, like you say, have an expansive outlook as to, well, what is God's plan in all of this anyways? There is a bigger picture of all things, and as everything outside of ourselves is reflected within. You're right. That whole movie, The Odyssey, was about his inner conflict and how that showed outside. And everything from within is created in our outer world because of how we're perceiving it. And you're right. Fear, one of the biggest robbers of joy in life, is the idea that we need to be afraid of something, including death. So many people are afraid of death. It's a part of life. The flowers come in the spring, they go away in the fall, and we're so desperately hanging on to certain concepts or ideas of what we think should be that we miss the whole enjoyment of the movement and the orchestration of life itself. Um, I don't know what has got us to the point of trying to prevent things from moving, trying to prevent things from changing as if we do have control over it when we don't. Um, and I think that's what we're seeing in the world is so much desperation to not let go of the way that we've seen things in the world. And when in the movie The Odyssey, he finally lets go, he goes home. It's effortless, and it's almost a cosmic joke, actually, as to how desperately we try to control things, and then as soon as we let go, it's peace, it's ease, it forms itself. You get to shine your light because you've or not assimilated, but accepted your role in part of the bigger picture of it.
Yeah. Where there's control, there's a lack of trust.
Hmm.
Right. And so where or what parts of my life am I looking to control? And this whole idea of measurement and tracking and data, like it's this idea that I need certainty. It needs to be predictable. I need to control it rather than trusting. Right. Yeah. And so it's knowing how to dance between the two, right? Because we are in this physical reality as well. And we have the power to create, right? And that's where the rational mind comes in to help us create. In service to what though? In service to our ego, our egoic desires, our fears, our lack, or in service to life, thriving life, to be connected to our life force and our needs to have those being expressed with everybody else. Why else are we here, right? And so one of the greatest freedoms, the greatest piece of ease that I have is when I start trusting myself and land in a space of stillness that I'm like, oh wow. When I'm in tunement to being of service to something greater than myself, as if if I did something that was joyous, that was fulfilling, I'll never burn out. Right? Because the flame is always flickering. It's the internal flame. It's the life force that keeps feeding itself to be expressed. Why would that
Yeah.
ever burn out?
No, exactly. How can we contribute to life itself? If we're actually doing that, why would we burn out exactly? There would always be this life-giving energy to whatever we're doing. It would be reciprocal. It would be relational. To give means to get back. That's the way it's supposed to work. But you're right. The reductionistic analyzation, over relying on the left, logical, Newtonian, objective observer science has reduced our knowing. It reduces our heartbeat to, oh, we might as well all be AI. We all might as well be robots. And the only way new information can come in is not through AI. It comes through the human experience of life itself. And so it's time to, and I see it happening. And I think the Odyssey, the movie itself, it coming out at the time that it's coming out, is really telling us the story of where we're at. We're starting to make our way back. But in the meantime, there's chaos, there's destruction. It looks dark. There are sirens going off everywhere. But again, even through the darkest of times comes that aspect of trust, that this is just another cycle. They might call it the fourth turning. It's when the reckoning happens, when people have gotten so far away from God. Sin just means to miss the mark. When people have gotten so far away, there's that pendulum or that elastic band effect where it gets quickly swung back the other way. And I see the wave making its way.
Wow. And when you said the wave, it reminded me of like literally a flood. We see in past times, right, where massive floods would just wipe out civilization, right? You could talk about the story of Noah's Ark or even Atlantis, like cataclysmic events in the form of floods. I mean, if I look around, I'm surrounded by water. Literally, there's more water than land.
Well, even
All it
Noah's Ark,
takes,
it goes back to the 2x2. What are they marrying? The feminine and the masculine, the two of each. Let's go. Bring them together. The principles of how
yeah.
you bring source energy into manifested form. The feminine, they always say open the door for women. There's a reason for that. The feminine goes first. You're knowing the only way you can create something new is if you come up with a new idea. And if you're always looking at the scientific data of what's in manifested form, you're not going to be creating anything exciting or anything new anytime soon. It's impossible. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Anyway, you're kind of like an Ouroboros eating itself because you're
Snake.
essentially ancestral because you're just eating your own data, just like AI, right? If we're not feeding it data, new data, or correcting, fact checking it, it's only gonna get its data from itself and create this reinforcement and I don't know, perhaps make its own information coming out of it, right? It's like the telephone game where the story just gets watered down as it
And
passes to the
more
next person.
distorted. We ever asked chat and GTP and stuff a question, and you try to dig down under, the more and more distorted and confused it gets as to what you're asking. It can't actually provide really, at least the version I'm using doesn't provide very wide angle lens on many things. It's very what would I say when it's very people pleasy. It tells me what I want to know.
Mhm.
It very much dependent on the questions that I ask and the information that I already know. Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, and it's just more of call of like I can see how AI can just outsource my critical thinking skills, just like the calculator outsource my ability to make, do math in my own head, or the phone outsourcing the need to memorize numbers.
Or GPS, I don't know directions and I end up going the wrong way when it tells me to do U-turn and we're at the wrong place and it doesn't have the map.
Right. Creating
Oops.
this sense of, yeah, dependency, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
outsourcing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Further into slavery, I might say.
Mm.
Mhm.
So what's the
So what
check-in on that to get back into alignment, to get back in walking the middle path?
you like to call it the middle path. I'm curious, actually, I'd love to hear more about what the middle path is to you for you, because I know you have an idea that if one day you would write a book, you would call it that. And so why don't you tell me about that? More about that. Expand on that concept for me.
Yeah, it's not it's not an or conversation. It's holding both hands. It's that life is a paradox. That good and bad exists on the same spectrum, light and dark, masculine and feminine. It's just a spectrum. And it's when I go overboard or get over index or under index on a particular quality or trait. For example, let's go with anger, right? Anger is such a vital, potent energy. And I know I judge, we haven't been trained to know how to express our anger in life giving ways. And what nonviolent communication is called screaming in giraffe, right? So giraffe is more the nonviolent communication. Giraffe. Why did Marshall choose a giraffe? They are one of the land animals that have the largest heart. And the other side of violent communication is the jackal. We call that the saboteurs and the protectors, right? So with anger, for example, if I'm swinging so far in on one side, then it becomes aggression, right? It becomes hurtful. Like there's an impact that as if I'm vomiting or projecting my energy into someone else's body with this anger, right? It can turn into violence, into actions and behaviors that can create physical harm, not only emotional and mental harm, but physically. And so, because I'm so clear on what that is, I know what the opposite is. So I swing all the way back over here and I temper my expression. I hold that back because nope, anger is dangerous. See the impact, right? And so what happens? I suppress that anger. I become the nice guy, but then it comes out anyways. It comes out passive aggressively. It comes out in actions where I'm withdrawing or stonewalling my love, right? Right. So then the middle path is what's the in between of that? How do I express my anger in a way that shows me what I no lets me know that I'm standing up for myself, shows the other person what I deeply care about, but doesn't harm the other person, doesn't project blame, criticism, and judgment on the other person. Right. So I'm not too nice where I'm erasing myself, abandoning myself, and then becoming resentful. And when I become resentful, the people around me pay the price anyways. Or swing far to the other side and blow up, right? And demand and control and make people fear me. What is the middle of that? And this applies to everything in life. Everything. What we see in society is swinging from one side to the other, right? Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
that's
the
just one
irony,
example.
right? Like you said, the paradox, the irony, what we most desire to protect, then on this flip side is what we don't express. And therefore, then we don't get the things that we desire in life. And so it's like we want purpose, we want to express, we want to speak our truth, yet the very things we fear to speak that we repress, and everything gets a little bit distorted. And then um, we're living less of a life, I guess. Less and less life giving
Yeah.
altogether.
Just say like too much of one thing, too less of one thing as well has consequences, has an impact, right? Cause and effect. Yeah. And I see in our culture, love to talk about the 3 stages of emotional liberation. It's always a great reminder. On one side is the victim consciousness, right? Giving my power away. And then getting upset, getting to the point of like, I'm done with this, and swinging the far other end of like extreme independence, It's all about me, 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 me. That's your problem. You deal with it. I'll deal with me. I'll deal with my own. Right? Being disconnected from the whole, not caring about the impact of my actions, and then coming back into the middle of interdependence, of like maintaining my sovereignty, right? Standing up for myself, but at the same time, knowing the consequences of my actions, having empathy with that and consideration of my impact. So I'm just not going to be a dick about it, right? There's a sense of care. And at the same time, I'm not going to abandon myself. That's the middle path. One is, selfless, giving myself away. The other side is selfish, right? Me, me, me. The middle, self-full.
Yeah.
How can I live in this symbiotic relationship? I'm connected to everything. That your well-being is also my well-being as well. And at the same time, I'm not going to abandon myself.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, because I think in linear thought we just think of a line, one over here and one over here. But the third principle is in fact the relationship themselves. So we don't tend to live in relationships. So the middle path looks like the middle of a line, but of course you take two ends and you put them together, they meet in the middle.
And it's the third way.
It's the third way. And the third way is relationship. Exactly. Instead of the dualistic, reductionistic nature, it all comes back to relationship between those things. Yeah. Relationship.
Yeah, me, you, we, us, right? And it creates a third field.
It
a third
does.
entity.
The third entity. The middle path, the third way. Which actually, in reductionist thinking, we always think 1 + 1 is 2, but as you put things together, they create more than what they were in the first place.
Yeah, I learned 1 + 1 is 3 or more.
Yeah, exactly. It is. That's the truth. That mathematical reductionist thinking, but it's not. I noticed that I'm feeling mentally tired and today.
Yeah. A need for rest, and maybe ending this short.
Yes, that would be my request.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. We can wrap up. And
Yep.
so, if we were to bring this home, what's coming up for you, or what's bubbling up for you, if we were to come back home?
Well, come back home. Isn't that the theme? That's the theme of the Odyssey. It's the theme of how far I think civilization has come and gone, and some of the violence and the horrific things that I'm seeing. But if we relate it back to the whole movie of the Odyssey, it's part of the journey back home. And I'm not sure why we have to go quite so far to find our way back. But it is a theme. It's a repetitive theme. It's a human nature, archetypical story that we are now experiencing, whether you want to call it the Odyssey, the apocalypse, the quickening, the awakening. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
I would do it. How would you bring it home?
Oh
today?
man, just falling in love with myself again. Falling
Yeah.
back in love with myself again, and with life. Yeah.
Mhm.
Being in touch with life.
The naive wonder of the world, and drawing yourself out to seeing so many different beautiful things. A childlike little Dre.
Yeah. And really connecting to that childlike inner Dre of like, man, he survived so that I could be here. He survived with all that protection mechanisms, maladaptive patterns I can judge the shit out of, be ashamed of. Actually, he survived. Amazing. So that I can live my life right now. And so there's reverence for that little guy.
Yeah, brave. Brave.
Yeah.
We've all been extremely brave. Our world is violent. Our world is violent. And not just the bombs or the guns or the whatever, the judgments, the mental strain, the language. It's time to come home.
Yeah.
I
Time to
think.
come home to ourselves.
Mhm.
So as we close this out, there's one announcement I want to make is starting in September, Tuesday, September 15th, we have a level 1 course, Conscious Communication. It's one of our flagship courses, 6 weeks long, online, starting Tuesday, September 15th. We have 4 more spots open for that class. So
Oh,
just thought plant the seed for that. If you're interested, reach out to us. We'll give you all the information about that. How about for you? Any announcements on your end that you want to make?
not really. I'm holding my cards close from
Mm,
exciting things coming in the fall and
okay.
next year. Some exciting events, but I'm going to wait a little bit.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Well, be well, everybody. Till next time.
Ciao.